thanks to the folks at Gabriel Valley Farms. And now we're going to turn our attention to backyard farming with a really special technique called keyhole gardening. I'm joined by Dr. Debbie Tolman, who is an expert in this. And thank you so much for coming on to Central Texas Gardener.
Thanks for having me.
This is a really exciting concept, keyhole gardening. Tell us a little bit about the roots of this tradition.
Well, the roots of keyhole gardens are, I think, 10 years maybe, missionaries have been taking keyhole gardening concepts to Africa to reteach folks how to intensively garden. But what I bring to the table, which is a little different, is the filling. There's no native soil in the keyhole gardens that I do, and it's cardboard and manure. So
the concept is raised gardens.
It is.
Kind of shaped like a donut, right, in a sense?
No, kinda, it is.
Okay.
It's round. It is simply just what you said. It is a round container garden with an access to a central basket, which is that kitchen central basket.
Right. Oh, we have a little model right here. This one is, you've simulated a rock wall surrounding.
That's right, but you can use anything that you have.
Right.
That's the bonus. 6 feet in diameter. There's a lot of science underlying these things, but simply put, there's no native soil, it's 6 feet in diameter, and when you finally finish it, you will actually cone it like a volcano. And so there's some hydrologic reasons for doing that. And then the center basket is where it gets its name of self-fertilizing, self-watering.
Okay.
The concept is very much, there's a lot of moisture in there.
And basically the central basket is where you put your organic waste. And so you put your compost right into the heart of the garden.
Put your kitchen scraps.
Exactly. And it just kind of leaches out, and the nutrients leach out into the surrounding soil.
That's right. But the whole thing is a hot composting setup.
Right.
And so what you're doing when you finish this thing, when you finish building it, and it only takes a day, you're planting it immediately. So so the different concept is you're planting on a hot composting pile. That's unusual.
It is unusual.
Yeah, and you're packing it with plants. So you reserve the top 6 inches. Do we want to get into this much detail?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah.
You're reserving the top 6 inches for those little plants that you're going to put in, and that will help contain the moisture. So you spend a lot of water in building this thing from the beginning, and then to seal it in all that cardboard, what you want to do is put this canopy of plants on top of it, mulch it, and basically watch it.
Right. And you use the cardboard really just to hold everything in place.
You're actually using the cardboard to encourage the critters to come, because we want them to start, the biology to start cooking this puppy. Okay. So there's a lot of biology in it. Usually when I give these, I try to back off of the science, because you'll see the visors start to pull down.
Well, you're obviously enthusiastic about it, and I can see why. Now, thinking about the tough conditions we have here in Central Texas, this is really ideal for many people who have no soil, number one. But it's also smart for drought kind of situations. So, a lot of people think, gosh, raised beds, wouldn't that take a lot of moisture?
That's right. It does take a lot of moisture to begin with. But once that cardboard gets saturated and the manure gets saturated, or manure substitutes get saturated, then the whole thing takes on a moisture holding and air retention. Sounds like a digestive problem, doesn't it? But that's the scenario, which is great for plants. Moisture will always leach down first, so you've got good drainage, but you've got that air in there. And I am always and always have been dubious about every little gimmick, and so I treated the keyhole gardens originally when I started reading about them as gimmicks. But they really passed the test on just about everything I've questioned on them.
Well, let's talk about what you grow in your keyhole gardens, because for you it's a very wide range. You even grow fruit trees in your keyhole garden.
I do. The last one I did has 7 fruit trees. Oh, so when you pack these things at the end, we're talking 70 tomato plants in one keyhole garden. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. And I did 2 of them, that was 140. That's a lot. But that's the type of sealing that moisture that I'm talking about, And so, 7 fruit trees.
So you got very popular tomato harvest time.
That's right, and I'm done. I was done a long time ago. That's my shtick is forget about the summer gardening. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
right.
probably not appropriate to say. But yes, a lot of them. That's the package. And so now, and because I don't have any soil, I use those keyhole gardens for a lot of things. I probably have way too many of them at this point because I can't eat fast enough
Right.
to stuff my scraps in each and every one of the
Sure.
11 that I have.
A little bit obsessive on the keyhole,
little bit.
but that's okay.
But the trees, so I have one that's
Again?
devoted to berries. So I've got blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, goji berry, and then another one that's devoted to trees, so plum trees, apricots, pomegranates. And you can really do a nice espalier. You will like this.
Oh,
Espalier.
yeah.
You get them to come out like this, but then train them to have a really nice canopy. So then you could grow raspberries, perhaps.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of fun, actually. And
It is.
there, you know, there's a real advantage ergonomically as well to having a raised garden for a lot of people getting on the years, especially having a garden that you can literally walk into,
Yes.
you know.
And you can reach. So that's the other scientific thing. It's 6 feet in diameter. You don't want it any further than 3 feet from the edge of that center basket.
Okay.
But that's a reaching thing. That's
That's
a
right.
comfortable.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now you haven't asked me about harvesting those 70 tomatoes. That was a pain in the butt.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
But they were really pretty because I put taller varieties in the back and they cascaded down. It was just nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
So,
these things.
so you know, you can reach in. It's at a level that's comfortable to work at.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's just a matter of kind of replenishing the organic matter, right?
It is.
And you have to be pretty vigilant about that, I would guess.
I don't have enough organic matter for these things. So I have to come back and replenish layering, same layering process that you built on the inside. So I come back with balled up newspaper, manure, more balled up newspaper, then put a mulch on top of that. And what you're doing is ultimately you're creating more airspace, which is where
Right.
it gets very compacted at the top.
Right. Right.
So you're really creating more airspace. And if there was one thing that I think makes these things be survivors, it's that airspace. Now it does hold a lot of moisture,
Right.
but it's in that cardboard. But the cardboard gets disintegrated really quickly. I do have a good story.
Okay.
Is this a good time
sure,
for it?
Sure.
The very first one of these that I did as a workshop was at Ace Garden Center in Clifton. And I wanted kids to have fun, and we all had fun. We did it out of cob and rock. And 4 weeks to the date after we finished that thing, we had that 10-inch rain.
Right.
It all dumped in that keyhole garden. Here's what was missing. A whole wall busted out. So I got to see firsthand, 4 weeks after we finished that thing, there was not one piece of cardboard of a half of a dumpster load of cardboard, not one of 180 phone books, Waco style, not one of a newspaper, and we had 18 stacks that were 2 feet
Wow.
high. No, it was incredible. I got to see it, so it was a great learning experience for
So
me.
it's just gone.
Gone, and
Yeah.
we can't. You can't make compost.
That's
usually
a
4 weeks.
burden pile.
Pretty good. That's hot.
Right. Right.
But I mean, by the time the roots get down, it's cooled down. Those are just spikes.
Okay. Real briefly, you say it only takes a day to make one of these things.
That's
You,
right.
you teach about this. How can people access information about getting started with a keyhole garden?
Well, they can go to my website.
Okay.
There is the DVD, and they can email me.
Okay. You said that very quiet. Email.
Email me.
Okay. All right. But I'm sure people will avail themselves of this. It's a very exciting way to intensely garden in a very small space. And it's a really ancient technology that you're helping to bring back to life here in Central Texas. So thank you so much for coming on board.
Thank you. I thought I was going to get very serious and sciencey on you, so I brought this to remind me to be very lighthearted.
Okay.
But I didn't have to be. You kept me very lighthearted.
Okay,
Thank
well-
you, Tom.
Well, thank you. And now it's time for our friend Daphne.